Hey all, Jerome back again. I want to do a little bit of a different video this time. I've been playing guitar 448 days, so this is 448 days of me into playing guitar. I've been having a lot of fun. Uh, the thing I want to talk about right now is guitar expectations. I'm in a fairly good situation where I've been playing for 14 months or so. I started at the age of 40. I'll be turning 42 this year in September. See a lot of videos online talking about, the question was, how long will it take to learn guitar? And you've got the musician type stuff, or you've got guitar tricks, and you got Fender play, and and they're saying to get easy, to learn guitar in 30 days or 2 weeks or 24 hours or whatever you want. They make it seem like you can learn guitar relatively quickly. But nobody talks about what it actually takes to learn guitar. Now, this is just my perspective. I'm sure some of the younger crowd could probably learn guitar faster than I have. I guess that's true of anybody. No matter where you're to in your guitar progress, there's some young kid that's 8 years old that can shred guitar that would make you want to just pack your guitar up and quit. But I don't think that's the right idea. For me, I know that there's probably people that can learn guitar that have learned guitar faster than I have. But I'm okay with my progress. I think the most important thing is, are you having fun? If you're having fun, you'll learn whatever you need to learn. And are you learning? I guess the next thing to that is make sure you're learning correctly. Learning bad technique can probably hit. That's the thing. How do you know if you're learning correctly or not? I can't answer that. That's the one thing to pay attention to. Are you learning correctly or not? And are you having fun? I think having fun is probably the most important thing. Because being able to play whatever you want to play, I think that's the goal. If you like to play being able to play whatever you want to play is having fun on guitar and playing the songs that you like. I think that is the goal. Being able to play what you want to play when you want to play it, and being able to play what you hear in your head. So I've been playing for 14 months, and I think I'm in a good situation to talk about what realistic expectations are, at least for somebody in their 40s. I don't know where you're to in your guitar journey. Maybe you're young and you're just starting out. I've had a few questions on YouTube about, well, how do I do guitar chord transitions? And I answer that. I won't get into that now, but it really comes down to, are you willing to put in the time? And what are your good expectations? So that's kind of the idea I want to talk about right now. So I know for me, so a question I got that was asked on one of my YouTube videos today was, how long did it take me to learn how to do chord transitions? And of course, the very first thing I say is go watch Justin Guitar. Justin guitars. I'm not here to teach you how to play. I'm here trying to learn. I'm a student, not a teacher. But I'm just like sharing my experiences as a student learning guitar and the resources that I have. So I think I'm in a unique position to talk about the process of learning guitar. Not really a teacher. I'm just explaining my perspective and how I'm learning. At the age, I started late. If I had a misspent youth, if I had been playing guitar since I was 10, that's 30 odd years now. I'd be a lot farther along than anyway. I'd be a lot. I would have been, if I had to spend as much time as I do today on learning guitar when I was very younger, I'd be a lot farther along. So, but what are you gonna do? I wish I had started 30 years sooner. So back to the question of progress. That's not really the question of progress, and if you're Googling, am I progressing well, or how is my progress good enough? I think that's the wrong question. Because for everybody learning guitar, everybody learns their own rate. I've been playing for 14 months. I played every day for 448 days. I don't think many people would do that kind of a thing. Most people will play a couple days a week. I don't know why I started doing that, and now it's more of a habit than anything. And I think that's an important thing to have, is to be able to, if you really want something, you'll get it. It doesn't matter what you do. So how do we go about learning this guitar? And some of the answers, the questions are, how long will it take me to get good? Some people will say 6 months. Some people will say a year. Some people will say 2 years. I think a 2-year timeline learning guitar is probably realistic. I played every day for 14 months. And I can play GCD. I can play G, C, and D. So if that's all you learn in your first year, I think you're good. G, C, and D, and be able to play that appropriately using a metronome. Bar chords. I would say go check out Tom Hess. Tom Hess has this what does he call it? I think he calls it a geometric way of learning guitar, and that is you're simultaneously learning several things at once. So you don't practice one thing in isolation. So you're practicing chord changes, you're practicing string bends, or whatever it is. There's several techniques simultaneously that you're learning on guitar, and all of them intertwine when, like, say, learning a string bend. Learning something simple like that, or learning a bar chord, they all feed into each other. So learning one thing helps every other aspect of your guitar playing. So it's in your first, let's say the first 2 years of playing guitar. Let's give it, I think give it two solid years. I think 2 years is probably realistic to be able to get to let's say a proficient, being able to be proficient at guitar. That after 2 years, now that your mileage may vary, but let's just give it 2 years, and you're giving it everything you can for 2 years. It really depends on your level of input, and I guess how we're wired. Some people learn faster than others. So after 2 years, you might be farther along than playing GC&D. You might be a shredder. So if you're young, you probably can say like a Kirk Hammett solo. Anyway, that took me several months to learn, but you don't learn that in isolation. You practice that along top of everything else. So you're practicing, say, your pentatonic scales. That's the thing. So you're learning several things simultaneously, and you got to give yourself enough time to let all that stuff gel and sink in. So if I'm thinking back on it, I think 2 years, at least a year, for all those things start to gel, and then you can start playing. What basically anything that the things that you like to play, you should be able to play. Now, I mean, it depends. I think it is unrealistic expecting 2 years to be able to be Kirk Hammett or Yngwie Malmsteen or anybody, any type of a shredder type guitar player. Slash. In 2 years, you're not going to be at that level. Most people. I'm sure there's some young folks that can probably do that. But realistically, after a year, 2 years, you should be able to start the basics of all the learning the building blocks for what you want to learn, for the songs that you want to play. And I think that's a good testament. Take a song, any song, your favorite song, whatever it is, the song that you get hyped about hearing on a radio, or you hear it in your car, you put it in a CD or on your iPhone. What do you get excited about listening to? Being able to play that song in its entirety. Go learn it. Go look up the tab. And I think that is the most valuable skill. Being able to hear something and be able to play it. I can't do that. I've only been playing 14 months, and there's so much things to learn. And that's one thing about learning guitar, or I guess it's like learning anything in life. The more you know, the more you realize you don't know. So realistically, the answer to how long will it take to learn guitar, it depends on how much effort you put into it, really. But I think for me, I've played every day for 448 days, and it's taken me, let's just say 14 months, a little over a year. So we'll say a little over a year to be able to play GC&D. Now, there's a little more to it than that. But that's basically it. So go check out Justin Guitar. Go through Justin Guitar's beginner course. Buy books that you find interesting related to that. Like, for example, The First 100 Chords by Joseph Alexander. Or whatever it is. Pick up anything. But I think realistically, it'll take a year, 2 years before you get to the point where you can start. You have enough of a foundation built to learn what you want to learn. And I think that you're in the realistic expectation, let's give it a year. It really depends on the person, but say, like, nobody likes to hear this, but realistically, it's going to take a year, 2 years to get to the point where you can start playing songs that you like. See, I still mess it up. I'm still messing up. And so the other thing to realize is that, okay, so we've got, say, the first 2 years learning guitar is I think 2 years is a good realistic expectation. And let's call it a year. So you've got your first 12 months. I think 12 months is a good progress indicator if you play every day. It all depends on your mileage may vary. It depends on how much effort you put in. But if you're like me and you play every day, then I think a year is a good time frame. But if you don't play every day, it'll be longer than a year. But I think 6 to 12 months is a good expectation before you're somewhat proficient on the guitar and you're like, you can start playing things that people want that listen to. That's the amount of effort you take, and every day you've got to be pushing the envelope. You got to push yourself to get good. Now, some young folks might be able to do that in 3 months, but I think realistically, a year, 2 years is probably a good expectation for the most people that aren't playing every day, that have jobs, have families and whatnot. But I don't really want to focus on time. That I think focusing on time is the wrong thing to do. What you want to focus on is your progress and forget time. Because thinking about time is going to make you depressed. Because there's always going to be a younger person that's 8 years old, 6 years old that can shred guitar, and you want to throw your guitar out the window. You've been struggling for, say in my case, 14 months, and then you look at somebody that's been playing for 2 months and they're farther ahead than you are. And then you have two choices. You can get bummed out, or you can say, you know what, I want to do that. That guy, it doesn't matter how young that person is. He's half your age or a quarter of your age or younger, and has been playing for 2 months and can melt your face off playing some type Eddie Valen type, whatever type licks that they're playing. But I don't think that's realistic. For most people, I think realistically, you're gonna play it in your first year. If you're not playing every day, I think GCD is realistic expectation. Play songs that play. Or what really realistically any 3 chords and be able to put that together into some type of song. Doesn't matter what song it is. It doesn't even matter the 3 chords. But realistically, it's going to take you that long to get down the chord transitions, to be able to play it in time, and practicing to a metronome and building up the muscle. It'll take you realistically in your first 2. It'll take you at least 2 weeks to build up the calluses in your fingers. Like if we're talking real. And then realistically in your first 2 weeks, all you're really doing is building up the callus in your fingers. So you're really not in your first 2 weeks, it doesn't matter what you really play. What you want to do in the first couple of weeks, fingers on strings. Build up the calluses. And so then there's also this timing thing. So you want to be able to play in time and knowing 4 beats of the bar and using a metronome. I go over this in a couple of. I've answered this question before. How do you learn chord transitions? I'd recommend checking out the First 100 Chords. They got a good chapter 12 on how to learn chord transitions using a metronome. And anyway, I won't get into. But anyway, chord transitions. It's a solved thing. Basically, if you can do this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. You can learn any chords you want to learn. Because once you start doing that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, you can bump up the speed, and then you can start doing 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Anyway, you can do that, and you can recommend using the metronome, but you can slowly practice that over time, however long it takes. That's the other thing I want to say. Take as long as you want to learn whatever you want. Time should not factor in. Don't compare yourself to anybody else. So, because just the fact that you asked the question, is my progress okay, already sets you up for failure. And it is mind-bending. You wouldn't think that. You're starting out in guitar. If you start out thinking about how long is it going to take me to be able to play, I don't know what you want to start off playing, but say you pick a hard song. There's a lot of hard songs. Stairway to Heaven, like stuff that I can't even play. Or even just like say something like some type of Kirk Hammett solo. Or anything, so say anything about any type of shredder, Eddie Van Halen, or whoever your favorite guitarist is. Being able to play, if your goal is to play one of that in say 6 months, realistically, that's probably not doable. So I think in the first year, if you can do something, I'll go back to the G, C, and D. And you can play it in time, you can do the chord transitions. And then you can play bar chords. Those are valuable skills. So really, and then focus on rhythm. So 16th note strumming. And all kinds of strumming patterns. Couple examples. So to put it in perspective, like the B7 chord. It's one of those. Justin Guitar has a Otis Redding Sitting on the Dock of the Bay. Sitting on the Dock of the Bay goes like. That B7 chord, I tell you right now, was the hardest chord I've had to learn. I find the B7 chord was harder than learning the F bar chord. Now that was my personal experience. And if you're playing a lot of blues stuff, that B7 chord, so say if we're doing out of, hold on now, what's the chord progression go like? Yeah, I see I still mess it up and then it goes. And then it ends on the B7. So the good one is this. So I couldn't get that beat playing. If you're going through the Justin Guitar beginner course, you play the Otis Redding song. I couldn't get that B7, but then I started doing this kind of the blues turnaround, and then you land. So then when you land on that, you're already on the B note on the A string, 2nd fret, and then you lead right into that B7 chord. So that was, I think that one is what taught me how to learn that B7. No matter what I did for it, it took me so long to get that B7 chord down. I don't know why. It's something about the fingering pattern. It's one of those harder chords. This 4-finger chord, and I found it harder than the B7. But the then the, jeez, I can't even talk. Then the bar chord, the F bar chord. So learning the B7 chord took me several months. But that's the thing. I think Tom Hess calls it a geometric learning. So you're learning several things simultaneously while you're learning guitar. I think that's the good expectation. So in your first year, so you're playing guitar for a year, but then there's several things simultaneously that you're learning. So say, doesn't matter what you're learning. Let's just say you're practicing the bar chord. And I'm playing my pick upside down. So you're going to allocate your time so much to each thing. You're not going to learn one thing in isolation. So say you practice the bar chords for so many minutes a day. And that's all you're doing. You're just trying to do this. Or or if you get your bar chords down and you want to do a transition for something like that. So if you want to do whatever it is, so you want to be working on several things simultaneously. You don't work at one thing in isolation. You're working at you're thinking about what you want to work on, what you need to play the songs you want to play. And then you're working on several techniques simultaneously. And then in between that, you probably should pick at music theory. And speaking of the bar chord, the F bar chord, the E-shaped bar chords, I'm not going to lie, it's hard. It took me, I'd say 6 months to learn the bar chord, to be able to play it. So in Justin Guitar's beginner course, he has this song by Counting Crows. So that little chord progression literally took me 6 months. I had to practice that every day for 6 months in order to be able to get that down. That E minor. Let's just isolate that. That literally, I spent 6 months learning that. Hey buddy, Jesus. So 6 months. But we're not, when I was learning this transition from A minor to F, or even C to F. C to F is probably simpler to start with. So realistically, that C to F transition, a solid 3 months just to be able to get the bar chord. And then be able to 3 months, 3 to 6. It doesn't really matter. You practice it till you get it. I think that's the key. You shouldn't think about time. Time is irrelevant. Learning guitar. So here's my experience playing guitar. I've been playing for 14 months. I think learning guitar is a lifelong thing. No matter where you're tuning your guitar, learning, there's always more to learn. No matter what you do. And I think even good guitarists have holes in their guitar playing. If you go watch Tom Hess and hear him talk about how he teaches people how to play guitar. It doesn't matter where you're to in your guitar progress. There's always more to learn. So I don't think it really matters if you're Steve Vai, if you're Alex Lifeson, whoever your favorite guitarist is, they have holes in their guitar playing. They've been playing for decades, 30, 60 years. Who knows how long they've been playing. They've been playing forever, and that's what they're solely do. So realistically, when you're starting out, so we're learning several things simultaneously, and in between all that, we're learning music theory. But I think having fun and be able to pick a song that you want to play and learning the techniques that go along with that song. If your finger style is if that's your thing, learn that. But simultaneously, you probably want to learn music theory to go along with it. Learn that chord structures and rhythm and timings, and maybe you want to learn how to read standard notation. It really depends what you want to learn. And that's it. Learn what you want to learn. It's going to take you a year, 2 years, maybe 6 months. But 6 months to a year, maybe 2 years is probably realistic expectation. Really depends on how much effort you put into it. And I would say don't focus on time. Focusing on time is the wrong thing to do. Focusing on playing the techniques you need to play the song that you want to play. And having fun, I think, is probably the most important thing that you can learn. The most important thing playing guitar is, are you having fun? Are you motivated every day to play? Is your guitar in a place where you see it every day and you want to pick it up? Is it? Go do it. Pick it up right now. Why aren't you playing right now? You watching TV, you're on your cell phone. All these excuses we make for learning the things that prevent us from learning the things that we want. Put your cell phone down. Turn off the TV. Or while you're playing TV, just go over your pentatonics. Or go over your string bends. Whatever it is that you're doing. If you're doing the spider exercises for finger independence. It doesn't matter. Why aren't you doing that right now? Why aren't you practicing guitar? Now, there's legit reasons. You've got family. You've got a job. Fair enough. Sitting home on your computer, watching TV on your cell phone, wasting time. All those times that you waste, put that into playing guitar. Turn off the TV. Turn off your cell phone. Go learn guitar. Go do it right now. Why not? What's going to get you really comes down to what your goals are. Learning guitar should be fun for you. It's fun for me. The reason why I want to do it, I'll tell you a story. So I'm a software developer, and it really doesn't matter what your job is, but I program computers for my living. And I've been programming computers since, I guess, October 2002. So 17 years that I've devoted to being a programmer. And I have gone... And in that time, I started getting paranoid about younger folks that will eat my lunch and take my job. That why would they hire me when they can hire somebody younger that can do it quicker? That was paranoia. And so then, of course, to compensate for that, I studied everything. I wanted to be the best developer that I could possibly be to make sure that that I knew more than that younger crowd came out of university. So it was out of, I don't know how to say this, but I wanted to make sure that I knew more than the younger crowd did, and I worked extra hard to make sure that I wouldn't be irrelevant, or that the younger folks that I added a lot more value, that I brought a lot more value than somebody with a 1 year experience at the university. And so why would you hire somebody with 17 years experience when you can pay somebody a lot less for somebody at the university? So being able to justify that 17 years or however long you've been in the industry, 20 years or longer, and that was on my mind. That was top of mind. How can I, as a developer of going on 2 decades, how can I justify my value as opposed to somebody with a few years experience at a university that's eager to learn? So I put a lot of time and a lot of effort into honing my craft. And if you think about learning guitar and what goes into learning guitar, if you're a software, the same thing goes into anything that you want to learn. I'm a software developer, so I learn everything I get my hands on. I watched countless YouTube videos on that, and I was stressing about. And then I'd take my work home. I'd work 20 hours a day for this, let's say, in the last 5-10 years, where the stress started building up, and I was worried about making sure that I was still relevant in my career, and there was the whole other things going on there. So that was not sustainable long term, and I needed a way of not doing that. Here's the funny thing. Hold on, I'll get it for you. I'll show you. So somebody at work has a Rubik's Cube. I don't know if you guys do this, but that's what I did. I come home and I figure out how we do this. Be able to do this. Now, what kind of life skill is this? You know how to solve a Rubik's Cube. This is me equivalent to learning guitar. So if you study how to solve a Rubik's Cube, and then you see these 12-year-old kids that can solve this thing in literally 5 seconds, or they can juggle 5 at a time, that can solve this thing simultaneously, you want to quit. Like, what the hell kind of life skill is this? When you know that some 12-year-old can solve this thing in 5 seconds. So I learned. This was my first, I guess. I started learning how to solve a Rubik's Cube, but it wasn't satisfying once. And then it's very algorithmic. There's so many patterns, and once you know the algorithm, once you know how to solve it, you can't unsee it. And it's the same time every day. It's basically, then it becomes mechanical and in pattern recognition. But it's not really satisfying. There's only, and then people have this down to solve it in 5 seconds. What kind of a life skill is that? Like, if you go to a party and solve a Rubik's Cube, it'd be legit. Like, it's not really, it's fun to do, but it's really an isolated thing. And it's not really something that you can share with other people. And so, hence guitar. So we pick up this thing. So hence, I gave that up, and then I started. This is my new hobby, and the whole point of this thing was to not focus as much on work and really let go of my work and play this thing and put the extra effort and being okay with who I am as a developer after 17 years, being okay with where I'm to. I think that's probably the most important thing that I've ever done. Was just saying, you know what? It's fine. I've put in the time. I've put in the hours. I am what I am. And being okay with who you are. I think that was the most important thing for me to do. And a guitar helped me do that. Because I didn't take my work home with me. I stopped working, and I leave my work at the door now. And now after hours, instead of when I get home working, when I would normally work, I would put all that time into learning guitar. And that was helping. So learning guitar was helping me stay sane. Or most people say having a good work-life balance. So that's why I started learning guitar. But the whole point was, the amount of effort that I put into learning my craft, that same level of effort I put into learning guitar. So for 17 years, and let's say in the last 5 years, realistically 5 years, and I gave everything to learning everything that I could, researching all kinds of crazy stuff, and whatever was the most interesting thing that I could find at the time that was a little bit mind-bending, that was really valuable skills that I needed for my job that not many other people had, and that was what I was looking for. What were the skills that I need that would bring value to my job that not everybody else has? So being able to bring value. But then I got carried away, got paranoid, and was worried about the younger folks just taking my job for me. But then that stress built up, so I needed an outlet, and guitar was that outlet. So long story short, you have a lot of free time. You have a lot more time than you think you do to put into learning guitar. There's a lot of time we waste on the wrong things. So really, if guitar is your thing, put the time in. Whatever your thing is, put your time into that. If you have a family, put your time into your family. If you have some other thing other than work, it doesn't matter what it is. Put your time into it. If you value it, put your time into it. Whatever you value, put your time into. It's really a life skill. So guitar for me was a way to balance out instead of, I was focused on the wrong things. So learning guitar was a way to de-stress, but now it's become something else. Now it's become me being able to play the songs that I like. And then it becomes even more than that, because now I want to share the songs that I like with other people. And then I listen back to the songs that I want to play, and they're not sounding right. So then that makes you want to play it even different. So that being able to play what you want to play when you want to play it, and you want to put in as much effort as you can to make that realistic, to make that happen. So whatever it really comes down to, how much do you want to devote? How important is learning this instrument to you? That's really what it comes down to. Now, maybe there's things that are more important to you: your family, your job, your friends, maybe watching movies. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Whatever that you find important in your life, go do it. If guitar is important to you, like it was for me to help me, then you'll put your time into that, and you'll turn off the TV, and you'll find time to do what you like. And I think I guess that's being a well-rounded individual. Whatever it is, you want to go do something, go do it. You want to learn guitar, you want to play open mic. You might not even think that. I didn't start out wanting to play open mic, and I did my first one last night. I just started learning guitar just because, and then I basically practiced every day things like minor pentatonics. Going through Justin guitars, just learning the bar chord, learn the songs that you grew up listening to, that when you hear them on the radio, you want to sing them and play them. Go learn those things. Those are the things you want to play. Go learn whatever it is that you want to learn. Take as much time to do that as necessary. So asking how long it's going to take to learn guitar is really not the right question. But you really want to have I guess it's probably human nature to want to know how long it's going to take to learn a skill. And the answer that anybody's going to... It doesn't matter. There's nobody can give you that answer. You can only answer that for yourself. Really depends on how much time you're going to put into it. But if you're like me... So all I can say is that I started at the age of 40. I played every day for 448 days. And it literally took that long to be able to play. Well, I would say GC. I keep saying GCD, but that's oversimplification. And then bar chords. And I guess I'll end it on. Think about a timeline. Learning guitar, 2 years. Well, give yourself a year, 2 years, however long you want, and you're going to learn I'll say it again, G, C, and D, but you're going to learn, there's probably 10 chords that you're going to learn. You're going to learn A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and there's a couple minor chords thrown in there on top of that. You're going to learn those open chords. You learn all the open chords. If you learn all the open chords, you'll learn some strumming patterns. You'll learn a bar chord in the first couple of years. In the first a year to 2 years, you're doing good. That literally, however long it takes you, I can't say. It really depends on how much time you put into it. And and how efficient you are. So depends on how efficient your practice is and how quick you can do, how quick you pick things up. And that differs from person to person, but realistically, the timeline should be 6, 12, 24 months. Let's just say 12 months. It took me 14 to get where I'm to. So if you put in 12 months, practice every day, I think that's realistically to get to a place where now you have a platform to learn the rest of all the things that you need to learn. So I think about a year is probably realistic. And that's the thing. Are you okay with that? If you knew going in that it's going to take you a year to be able to get to a point, if you put in a year of effort, you can play G, C, and D in this thing, but realistically, there's a 12-year-old kid or an 8-year-old kid that can shred your face off. Are you okay with that? Are you okay with putting in a year's worth of effort on this thing, knowing that there's 12-year-old kids that have learned this in 6 weeks? You have to be okay with that, because it doesn't particularly matter who else learned it, how fast they learned it, or how young they are. Because you go look up Toby Lee, somebody that's 8 years old, or even Joe Bonamassa when he was young. All these young guitarists, or anybody look up Buddy Guy, and Buddy Guy had a few proteges. If you look at the proteges, you're comparing yourself to the wrong people. And that's the one thing about guitar. You'll look at the people on YouTube that you're going to look to, you want to play like them, but then you're going to get disappointed because you can't play like that. But realistically, it's going to take you a solid year before you're proficient on this instrument. And you have to be okay with that. If you're not, don't pick it up. If you're not okay with it, if it doesn't bring you joy, and you're not happy to play this every day for a year, why are you doing it? If the value of being able to play the songs that you want to play isn't worth the effort, then why pick it up in the first place? Because the answer to that is this should be worth it. If it's not, don't do it. But it's going to take you 6 months, a year of hard, dedicated effort to learn this thing. Anybody tells you otherwise, they're setting you up for the wrong expectation. So don't focus on time. Focus on having fun on this, learning the things that you need to learn, to play the songs that you want to play, to have the joy that you get from listening to the songs that you like. That should come out of this thing. When you play this thing, that's really the joy. So when you can start playing the songs that you grew up listening to. All right. It should be infectious. You should want to do it. And I think that's the most important thing. Are you having fun on this instrument? What are your goals? What do you want to do? And realistically, it's going to take you 6 months or a year to get to a basic place where you can start learning all the other things you want. So you got to build, there's about a year of foundational knowledge you need to build up, and being able to be okay with that you're not going to be shredder after a year. You're going to, if you put in a year of dedicated effort every day or every week, 5 days a week, or however many hours you put in. Being okay with your progress, I think, is the most important thing. And being realistic. 6 months a year is nothing. The older you get, you realize how much time you waste on things that you don't need to spend time on. YouTube, like this. Why are you watching this video? Go practice. Right? Why are you watching this? Why are you watching TV? Why are you on your cell phone? Get off it. Go do something that you love. Doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be this. It could be whatever it is you want to accomplish, why aren't you going doing that? Go do it. If it's guitar that you want to do, why aren't you going all in? Why aren't you playing every day? What's preventing you? Maybe there's something else that you should be doing instead of this. But figure that out. But if this is what you want to do, then there's nothing that can stop you. And who cares? It takes a year, 2 years. Say it takes 10 years. Does it matter? If you can only invest an hour a week, it's just going to take you that much longer. It really your progress depends on how much effort you put into it and basically how much you can absorb. And that's really an individual thing. I can't tell you that, but realistically, for me, it took me a year before I can get to a place where I can learn, I can play a song and I can learn other songs based off of that. So that was a little bit more long-winded than I wanted to say, but I think it was something that I needed to say. If you're still watching this, let me know what you think. I thoroughly enjoy playing guitar, being able to play songs that I grew up listening to. So say Metallica. I grew up listening to a lot of stuff: Metallica, Pantera, Iron Maiden. I grew up listening to a lot of pop music on the radio. But Metallica and all those fast solos and Guns N' Roses, you're talking about Slash, the guitarists that would just melt your face off. I will never be able to play that, but there's no reason why I can't aspire to wanting to be able to play something of that nature. Being able to play the one solo. Being able to play... Now, that's just the first couple of bars of one. My brother told me that he knows guitarists that have been playing 10 years that still can't play one by Metallica. And I take that as a challenge. Does it matter? Does it matter that hundreds of people tried to play that they couldn't? No. Or say my favorite song is Stevie Ray Vaughan, Pride and Joy. Stevie Ray Vaughan is one of those guitarists that were just phenomenal. Being able to play at that, or Hendrix, or anybody of that nature. You're never going to play like Hendrix played. Nobody can. Even Joe Bonamassa can't play like Hendrix. Nobody was Hendrix. He had this thing. So, setting yourself, if that's what you want to do, you're probably setting yourself up. Play, I guess the one thing to do is be you. Play what you want to play. Play it how you want to play it, and be okay with that. And it's taken me, I don't know, I've been on this earth 41 years, I'll be 42 years in September. Being okay with who you are is one of those life skills. Being okay with your progress. Being okay with not being able to progress as fast as you want. Being okay with other people that are very young, that can play this thing, that can play circles around you. Who cares? You should congratulate them, but realistically, be realistic and say, play what you want to play. And if you're playing what you want to play and you enjoy it and you can share that joy with other people, I don't think there's anything else you can ask for. I think, this is maybe too philosophical, but as long as you're happy, what else is there? So food for thought. So I'll end it off saying, if you're asking the question, how long is it going to take? It takes what it takes is really the answer, and it depends. But a realistic timeline is 6 months to a year, maybe longer. So I think probably, I'll say probably a year is probably a year of dedicated effort, and you can get to the place where you have a good foundation for being able to play whatever it is or figuring out what it is that you want to play and learning that, and it'll take you. This thing is, from what I can tell, is a lifetime. This thing you learn. There's people that have been playing, even Tommy Emmanuel, that have been playing for decades that still haven't mastered this instrument. So let that sink in. So a year's worth of effort, in the grand scheme of things, isn't a whole lot, and you can probably trade off your internet time, your TV time, your cell phone time Instead of putting that effort into those things, put it into this, whatever it is. Put your effort into what it is that you value. Knowing what you value. If you really value being on your phone, that's what you value. Or if you value entertaining other people, put your time into that. Whatever it is you value, put your time into it. But I think this thing is well, if I compare it to this thing, the Rubik's Cube, this has little value. This was for me, and it was a fun thing to figure out, but it didn't have any lasting value. This thing, learning guitar, for me is way more valuable. Way more valuable life skill, being able to figure out what it is. At least figuring out what you value. Do you really value this? And if you can't put the time into learning guitar, why not? Answering that question will help you figure out what it is that you should be doing if it's not guitar. Anyway, I've spoken too much. Gotten too philosophical. It's too early. I've been up all night. The sun's coming up now. I've been up since 3. It's like 5 right now, 6 or something. Anyway, draw them out. So, sum up. Learning guitar. Give it about a year. A year is a good expectation. Maybe, and then your mileage may vary. If you're a young whippersnapper, you can probably learn it very, very quick. If you're older, it might take you longer. Anyway, I'll leave it there. Draw them out.